Welcome to Cinema Bytes on CCP TV, the twice Emmy-nominated educational channel of Community College of Philadelphia. I'm your host, Dr. Amy Lewis. I'm an assistant professor of English who teaches film studies here at the college. Cinema Bytes reviews issues and topics within classic and contemporary films. But in today's episode, we're going to break from our film review format and interview two of the Philadelphia area's hottest filmmakers. Eli and Lu Bevins are twin West Philadelphia filmmakers and founders of Eli Lu Productions, which is an entertainment company devoted to producing exceptional, captivating, and dynamic content and materials for various audiences. The company first began producing stage plays for college audiences, but has expanded over the years to creating various entertainment mediums such as movies, web shows, documentaries, and educational videos. Eli and Lu have won multiple film awards for their independent films, including the Indiana University Film Festival and the Elfenworks competition. Most notably, their film, My Dear Arthur, was accepted into the Cannes Film Festival in 2015. Other productions include When Karma Calls, Mill Creek, and ID. They have been featured in various local news stories for their accomplishments, and they recently spoke at the Cuff Film Festival at CCP and inspired a whole new generation of filmmakers. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So I actually heard about you ladies on Action News initially, and I was just amazed by your story. It's not something you hear very often. And, you know, to hear about somebody from Philadelphia making it into something as big as the Cannes Film Festival. Usually we hear about the New York filmmakers and the LA filmmakers,
Right.
but somebody here in our very own city, it was such a big deal. And you did it all without the benefit of a big budget that we usually would imagine people who kind of get to that level would have. So super impressed, and that's why I knew I had to have you speak at Cuff and why I had to have you on the show today. And I know our viewers probably have so many questions for you, and so I'm going to try my best to predict what their questions would be and answer those today, hopefully. So let's address some of those questions. And I think the first one, probably that's hottest on everybody's mind, is how did two girls from West Philadelphia end up going to Cannes? I mean, how did this whole journey begin?
Yes, that is a probably a long path. But
Yeah.
you know, we started out picking up film again in grad school, which is an interesting time because, of course, as a grad student, you have crazy hours of work.
Right.
But we started. And we entered the Campus Movie Fest competition in 2014. And we had won first place in the Elfenworks category that year. And that was sort of the first time we ever entered a film competition. And from there, we were like, okay, we were always writers. So we were like, maybe we should just, keep doing this just to see where it goes. And the next year, we decided to enter 2 to 3 films. And that was My Dear Arthur, ID, and The Exit. And My Dear Arthur was selected to screen at the Cannes Film Festival in France. And it was just an amazing opportunity and experience just to have our film on that global scale. So.
Yeah, definitely. And so the other interesting part about our film, My Dear Arthur, and other pieces that we submitted for the CMF Hollywood competition was that we had literally less than a week to create each film. And so in 2015, we actually created 3 films in 1 week, which includes The Exit, My Dear Arthur, and ID, just to increase our chances. And so CMF Hollywood actually goes around. They changed the name now, but they would go around to different universities and select the top 16 to screen in each state or at each university. And then from there, they would select the top 4, and then the top 4 would compete nationally in Hollywood. So it's kind of a long process. So to definitely have our film selected to go to the Cannes Film Festival was definitely an amazing opportunity.
Yeah. You know, what I took away from all that you just said right now is, have you guys only really been seriously at this for roughly 2 years?
So, okay, so every question will probably lead back to a story. We were actually poets, and when we were in younger, and we used to write short stories. And we used to want to turn our short stories into movies, but we didn't know about screenwriting until the 11th grade year at Overbrook High School. We had joined the film club, and it was the first time we were introduced to a screenplay and TV scripts, and that was our introduction. But we never thought to pick up the camera until college. And that was sort of just to have a documentation of our work.
Yeah.
So we've really only been filming behind the camera probably since 2013.
Wow.
Yeah, our first project was the Mill Creek documentary,
Wow.
where we were the Preservation Alliance, along with they had a grant given to the Mill Creek Community Partnership, which we're a part of. And Miss Cass Green had asked us. She said, "I know you're artistic. Are you guys interested in filming the documentary?" Now we've never done this before.
Wow.
We're like, "Yeah, sure, we can do it." So we were sort of learning while this whole thing was going on. So that's sort of how we started learning. I guess if you look at the documentary, you probably think that we've done it before then.
Yeah, because I've watched it. It's very good.
No, this is the first
Yeah,
time.
we
Wow.
ran into a lot of. So our first time going out to interview someone, we didn't have a windscreen. So that was sort of like, oh, okay, now we need this. So then we
Yeah.
started learning.
While
you
we
know.
were doing the Mill Creek documentary.
Wow.
The
Well,
other
you
funny
learned very
thing,
quickly, I
right?
have to say.
Kind of on the spot.
Yeah.
But the other funny thing is, our backgrounds are actually not in film. We received our bachelor's degree in computer science with a minor in aviation science.
Completely left field.
Right, and
Wow.
then for graduate school, we went to Indiana University for the School of Informatics and Computing for information architecture and UX design, and it's completely left field, but
Yeah.
we still did both at the same time. So
Yeah.
Wow.
It's funny when we used to come home from school and people would think we're like in media related fields or
Mhm.
like, oh, how? And they would start telling people, and I'm like, that's not what I'm studying. I wish,
Wow.
but it's not.
So that's impressive. So with very little training and in very little time, and basically, and with a film you made in the span of a week, you got into the Cannes Film Festival. That's pretty
yeah,
impressive.
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Now, where do you guys get the ideas for your films?
experience.
yeah.
For the most part, most of our pieces, when we started out doing stage plays for graduate school for the Mass Media Club, and that's actually, undergrad, I'm sorry. But that's actually how we started, because we were always storytellers since we were younger, and we also performed poetry. So we just tried to document our stage plays, but that didn't come out right. Then we tried to do a web series, that didn't come out right. So we kind of left it alone, and then grad school, when the competitions came back, we kind of jumped back into it. But a lot of our films, for the most part, I would say we try to tell a message with storytelling.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which genre. So if it's comedy, we'll make people laugh, but we also want to tell a message or important message. I think every time we tell a story, we want to do it through multiple platforms so that we don't get stuck in a box.
Yeah.
So I know right now we're sort of riding the wave on thriller or sci-fi, that road, but we'll probably jump back into comedy soon and take that path.
Oh, good. So changing it up a lot.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
most definitely.
Sometimes when you're a filmmaker, you get boxed into, oh, they only do this, so
Yeah.
we want to
Yeah,
want to
so
branch out and
Right.
hopefully avoid that.
Yeah.
I think actually, My Dear Arthur, I would say, was the first one we did. We just had fun with.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't really a specific message we were trying to deliver
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
for that specific film. We just that was, I think, one of the first thrillers we actually tried to play around with.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We were thinking we're on campus. Everybody typically maybe might shoot in a dorm room or around campus. Let's try to think outside the box here, and we decided to do a story that took place that would take place in the 21st century.
Explain what it is.
Oh, so My Dear Arthur is a small thriller about a mother during the witchcraft time period who, to avoid being put to death by the townspeople, she puts her and her son's souls into a painting that is later bought by a couple in present time. So with that being said, we just wanted to have fun with that piece.
Yeah, there's definitely no message there. Everyone's like, well, what's the message in that one? I was like,
Don't
there
buy
isn't
art.
one.
Don't buy use paintings, right?
Right. So we didn't have a message with that one, but we're trying to just be creative as possible in such little time. We only had literally 24 hours to shoot because the other students were in other films, and we, just wanted to be mindful of their time and the other projects they were in. So it was a long day, but we got it done.
Yeah, a long day. Wow.
24 hours.
That's impressive, though, and I think you guys you were wise to do that, because I know so many times with student films they come off as student films because the students are kind of limited in their scope, and they sort of film in their dorm rooms, like you said, and everything. So it screams college, but yours really doesn't come off like a college film, which is probably why I got into college. And actually, we have My Dear Arthur to show, so I thought we could to show it now for people to see, and then we could talk about it a little bit when it's done. All right.
Sounds good.
So let's take a look at My Dear Arthur, the 2015 film that got Eli and Lu into the Cannes Film Festival.
He's come down from the mountains!
We know of Isabel Parnell and her witchery. She raises a son to which she shares her very craft, a craft given to her by the devil himself.
We want no more of this horrid sorcery! No witch will be left to breathe the air we breathe! No man, woman, or child. No more!
When a soul cries in dark shadows near, when the demons come from far and near, the spirits leap forth.
Arthur, what have you done? You've gone down to the village, haven't you?
I'm sorry, Mother.
Arthur, the townspeople are about. They will kill us, and then we'll be separated forevermore. We haven't much time. I must do this immediately. She Denzaida. May the spirits carry you into another soul, and in this life that you may carry, you find a life that's simply merry.
Babe, I can't believe you bought all this stuff from that weird antique shop. Are you listening? Oh, you bought that ugly painting?
As an art collector, I am insulted. Look, this painting is not just a painting. It tells the story of a mother's love for her son. What's this? Asham Aziedeo. May the spirits carry you into another soul, and in this life that you shall carry, may you find a life that's simply merry. Merry, woo!
I'm gonna go start dinner if you wish to join me.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? Tim? Tim!
What is it?
Look at the painting. What is it?
I don't know. I mean, it is hot in here. It looks like it's melting, though. Maybe it's just made with some cheap oils. Or maybe.
What? Oh, you're such a douchebag! Tim, there's someone out there.
Jenna! Oh, for crying out loud! You've been jumpy all day!
Yeah, because of that damn painting!
Jenna!
Oh my God.
Jenna! Help me!
Tim!
Help me!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Wow. Well, don't you have an interesting piece of artwork here?
Why, thank you. I painted it myself. My son Arthur here helped.
Well, aren't you a talented little fella?
When a soul cries and dark shadows hear, when the demons come.
Okay, so as I recall you ladies saying at the film festival, what we just saw was actually an abridged version of My Dear Arthur, right?
Right.
Now, why is that?
So we were just pretty much tasked with shooting it in 5 minutes. That's sort of the rules of the competition.
Mm-hmm.
But it was much longer when we finished, and we had to pretty much get it down to 5 minutes. So we had actually 8 minutes. So it's much longer. I think you could probably look at it and tell that it was supposed to be a little bit longer. But for what it's worth, we were able to, pretty much merge everything down into that 5 minutes. But that's a challenge in itself when working with those type of time constraints.
Yeah, I can imagine. When it's already 8 minutes, that's already a short film. So I imagine cutting just 3 minutes seems like,
I was stuck
gutting
editing.
it, right? Oh, wow.
And we and then on top of that, we had to submit it to CMF at a certain time, and so it was crazy. Pretty much, she came into the room and decided to help me out because when she came in, my head was on the
head was literally on the so
I
just kind of lifted her head and like slid the laptop away. I had some rest, so I was able to jump in and help her. I usually do the filming, and she usually edits. So.
Good. And I was actually going to ask you that question. How do you tend to break the work down from film to film? Is it that one of you always does the filming, one of you always does the editing, or do you kind of share the roles?
We can do both, but for some reason it just kind of ended up as her usually filming and then I'm usually editing. I kind of enjoy editing because I get to see the film come together.
Yeah, and I enjoy filming because I get I like to sort of have that eye like on set, and she's usually over my shoulder, so
I'm right there.
I think it's the first time I realized that we're actually directing together. Like there's two directors, and because we share the same vision, I don't look at it as two directors. And some people are like, "So how do you guys direct together?" And I'm like, "Oh, we do direct together."
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel that way because we have the same vision.
It's that twin connection, right?
Yeah.
That helps get you through. So I remember you had a very tight deadline on this, and that you really cut it down to the wire, didn't you?
Right.
For My Dear Arthur, how close did you come?
Well, because
up until I think.
Yeah, and also because of the CMF competition, that 1 week we did 3 films. So I believe it was on a Sunday we shot for about. We told the actors knew they would be there all day long, so we had food and things and tried to.
That's nice of you.
And it had the nerve to rain on the barn that we were shooting on.
Oh no!
It was windy. We had the kids out there, and it was. But it came out pretty nice.
Yeah.
We got it all done, and then I think the day after we also shot the exit. We came up with the idea maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning. Contacted a friend. He came over and we shot it and got that done. Edited the same night, and we also did ID. I think. In 1 day. So, it was a tight week. And on top of that, in grad school, our classes are 3 hours. So, pretty much it was team no sleep for the week. But we kind of prepared for that because in 2014, we did the competition. It was the same thing. So, in 2015, we said, okay, we're going to be prepared. We're going to get all the sleep and rest we need the week before. And we know that next week we are not going to sleep.
That's good. And then you just conked out the week after.
Right. We caught up on sleep. So
good. So I know you had your tremendous success with My Dear Arthur. What's next for the two of you?
Right. So we're always writing screenplays. We have probably a list of films just ready to go whenever, from short films to long films to feature films, and even a few like TV show ideas. But our most recent project was When Karma Calls, which we actually filmed in grad school as well.
Oh, wow. You were very productive in grad school.
It's surprising that I still got good grades. So
wow.
That's good. It was sort of like work first and then go play later. So I had to do my schoolwork first and then make that a priority.
Yeah.
But yeah, we filmed When Karma Calls during grad school. It took us about a year. But that film idea, we're hoping to turn into a 2-hour feature length.
Wow.
So currently it's sitting at 50 minutes, which is probably an interesting time limit because it's hardly a short film, but it's definitely not a feature.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the longest creative project we've had outside of the documentary, which is an hour. But that film, When Karma Calls, it's a supernatural force driven by karma. Okay. So it's a thriller, but it definitely has a message. Yeah. And I think it's a diverse. We had a diverse cast, and because of the topic of karma, we know that it'll appeal to a wide range of. Yeah, it's universal.
Yeah.
So everyone can relate to karma.
That's great.
It's almost like with what you put out is what you get back type of film. And so we decided to use thriller to deliver a message about karma, and That film, it took us a year only because of the student schedules. Everybody's schedule is if one person had class, you couldn't film.
Yeah.
So I remember our first scene was almost our last. In other words, we shot it literally a year apart, so we had to make sure that whoever was in that scene had the same, you know, if you had a hairband on your wrist, you had to...
No major haircuts.
right.
Right.
And that was another task. So literally a year later, they had to find the same shirt and pants they had, and oh gosh, how are we gonna make this work? But it came out all right. And we were also only a film crew of 2. We couldn't find a film team at the time, so it came down to, are we just gonna shoot this, or are we just gonna wait? And we decided, hey, let's do it.
Yeah. Now, if you decide to, if it gets picked up as a feature, will you build on what's already there, or will you kind of rewrite it and refilm the whole thing with the feature in mind?
We're going to rewrite the whole thing.
Wow.
It's because we have, I guess, with a bigger budget, you can do more. When you're sort of limited to funds or no funds, probably a no budget film. But when your creativity is sort of
limited.
Limited. So I know we're actually in the process of rewriting it now for the 2-hour feature length. But we've grown since then, even in our writing. So I know that this time around it'll be, I
believe we wrote the film maybe in 2014.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And probably we shot it in between 2014 and 2015.
Yeah.
And I think since then we've definitely grown in our writing, and I'm interested to see what we come up with now. Now that we're 27 years old and whatnot, so I feel like it comes with maturity.
You're seasoned veterans now. Great. Well, so now, I mean, I'm going to put myself in the viewer's position right now, and I'm going to think, if I'm a filmmaker or I'm interested in becoming a filmmaker, I'm going to think to myself, this all sounds so amazing, this sounds great, but, they're a long way from where I am right now. You have something in con, and you're talking about making a feature film, and I'm somebody who's interested in making films, but I haven't even taken the first step yet. So what advice would you give to a filmmaker who's watching right now?
Honestly, I would say we probably were in those shoes a few years ago, which is why we started picking up, cameras. We started out editing on Windows Movie Maker.
Oh, okay.
And everyone's like, "Oh, which software are you using?" It was embarrassing, but it was like you have to start somewhere.
And that's a free package, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not sure.
You can use iMovie as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just start out with the essentials and whatever you can get your hands on. I think our first film project we were playing around with was actually on a regular digital camera, which is a small square camera.
All right.
It's probably the first time I realized I sort of like looking at different angles. So whatever today's time is probably even easier. You have iPads and your phone.
Are the cameras pretty good quality for that?
Yeah. And there's a few people that went through competitions, big competitions, by filming on an iPhone. They might have added a few like adapters and lens, a different higher quality lens and things. But whatever you can get your hands on, I would say to just get out there and use it. And the way you really learn is getting out there and trying. We've had a lot of errors and mistakes. We had technical difficulties. Our laptops crashed, setbacks. But I say it's all worth it when you finally finish. To any filmmaker, I would just say finish, because that's the hardest task. It doesn't matter
start.
Start and finish.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what level you're at. I think you have that level of completion is going to push you to the next step anyway.
Okay. And in terms of, because your films, I'm listening to all the storylines and ideas, and they're so creative, and as you said, varied, because you don't want to get boxed in. Where would you suggest beginner filmmakers start with creating the script or the ideas?
Right.
Where should they look?
Well, something that we actually do is when we sit down for our writing process, the first thing we think of is what's not out there, what haven't we seen, and if it's something we have seen, how can we make it different? And I think it's the same thing with My Dear Arthur, because in 2014 we kind of shot on campus, and then as you grow, you start thinking, what can I do different from what I did the first time around? And so even in 2015, we thought about, hey, let's shoot at a barn. I'm from Philadelphia. I've never been on a barn. I think this would be interesting, and you kind of challenge yourself. People, a lot of times we tend to write about what we know, which is our comfort zone. And so what we try to do is not be in the comfort zone. And if it's challenging, let's do it. If it's going to be difficult, let's do it. If it's easy, we don't want it. It's kind of taking that mindset of what's not out there. and just trying to flip it. And if it's a world kind of like with blue people walking around, and write your new world of blue people walking around. If it's Harry Potter, I like those films that are different because it's one of the things that you can just kind of play around with your imagination. That's something I would say, play around with your imagination.
Yeah. I imagine, especially if you're working in a world that doesn't exist, you're not bound to rules. You can be
Right.
like, well, that's what happens in my balloon world.
Right,
So.
And it's funny that you say that because sometimes when we're like, every time we write a story, we're like, does this make sense?
Right,
Or,
right.
How did the world become this way? And then I'm like, I don't have to explain it. And I was like, it's just because that's
my
why.
world, my rules.
Right.
So for our audience that's watching at home that wants to learn a little bit more about you, where could they go to learn more about you?
Yes. So you could go to EliLuProductions.com. That's where all of our film work and information sits. We have
Facebook,
YouTube, Instagram,
all those good things.
yeah, Twitter.
So you are widely available.
Yeah.
And I like about your website, all of your films are in their entirety there to view, which is really great to see.
Yeah. Starting out, you try to put your film work everywhere you can.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's easy to find.
Good.
So
Well, and that's how I found you guys. It worked.
It's working.
Great. Well, ladies, I want to thank you so much for coming to join us today. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you, and we look forward to seeing what comes from you because you've got just so many things in the pipeline and so much promise. So thank you again for being here, and we'll keep an eye out for what's next for Eli and Lu Bevins.
yes.
So that's all the time we have for today. You've been watching Cinema Bytes on CCP TV, the Emmy-nominated educational channel of the Community College of Philadelphia. Thank you for joining us, and keep an eye out for the next big film debate. See you next time.